What's up, everyone, and welcome back for a real review. I know it's been a few weeks. That's why I made sure I wasn't alone for this one, as I'm here with none other than the Boston badass herself to geek out on something she and I both love, and that's Star Wars.
Hell yeah.
How you doing, Paige?
Oh man, it's you know what? I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it's nice to have a Star Wars series that felt like Star Wars and
Yeah.
like tickled my pickle a wee bit. It felt nice to get back into that. I was missing that ever since season 2 of Mando, so it's nice to finally get this. So
Yeah, I mean, so let's not even beat around the bush. We're here to talk about Ahsoka. It is arguably, you could say it's since Kenobi, the most hyped Disney Plus show to come out from the Star Wars franchise. I'm not gonna lie, I might be a little bit biased because to me, Rebels is the greatest Star Wars story told in the Disney era and possibly even ever.
I really like that take. I like that take though, actually. I like that take. I don't know if I agree, but I like it.
There are very few things like Star Wars, as you can see, resonates with me a ton, but Rebels just hit differently. I mean, it had the Clone Wars flair. Well, when it's not a filler episode, even though those are actually few and far between, and a lot of them do come back and tie in the end. But when it's focusing on the main story, that show is just so on point and has so many things thematically that are just pure and utter Star Wars that it just hits in a different way. And honestly, I think that's why I loved this show so much, because this essentially just felt like Rebels season 5 in live action form with Ahsoka 100%. Taking the lead.
It should have 100% been titled Ahsoka, aka Rebels season 5. And I totally would have been okay with that, because this show does such a great job reintroducing these characters for those that haven't watched Rebels in a little bit or who've never watched Rebels at all. And I think that's what I enjoyed most about it, because that's what I was most nervous about going into this show. Was I'm a huge fan of Rebels, but I haven't watched Rebels in years. So I was curious how newcomers were going to come into this show and how they were going to feel being introduced to these new characters or reintroduced. And I think for the characters that we get introduced or reintroduced, I think they did such a nice job with also a great flair of throwing in Easter eggs and such like that for us to be able to connect with those hardcore Star Wars fans. And then those that are coming in as newbies being like, wow, this is really cool, and not worrying about what the hell is going on in a sense.
Which, by the way, Easter eggs galore in that first episode, even in certain castings that I really want to get into, but I can't because I just freaked out and had a big smile on my face. But what I liked is the first episode is directed by Dave Filoni, but we got to crawl. I know that's the minorest of minor spoils.
Nope, I said it in my social embargo tweet, and because you can totally say that. And that right there, I was like, yep, I know I'm going to love the show. Dave Filoni knows Star Wars. He knows what to do.
It was a different crawl, too. It wasn't like your typical Star. This crawl had its own
it had its own
swag to it. Yeah.
I didn't have to read so fast like I do when I watch all the films, so that was nice.
Kevin Kiner, just his scores. I was watching. I watched this, and there's a moment when the audience is getting introduced to Sabine, because I can say we get introduced to Sabine because she's in the trailer. And it felt like I was having a Sabotage and J.J. Abrams Star Trek moment with the music choice, and I was like, "Yo, this." What we get this in Star Wars now?
Yeah, that's what that was pretty awesome. That's what I'm saying. I think whenever John Williams decides that hang up his hat, I think Kiner should take over. He understands Star Wars music and he respects it, but he also adds his own flair to it.
Yes.
And it was just so fire with those beaming scores that we got and those themes. It was just like I was like, yes, I feel like I am like in a galaxy far, far away, which I loved.
Yeah, and speaking of his kinder scores, the one for Balin, oh, with that piano, that menacing,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay, yeah, oh, yeah, but no,
I can fucks with this.
yeah. Um, what people are probably most interested about is how Rosario Dawson continues her journey as Ahsoka, and how does franchise newcomer Natasha Lou Bordizzo do as Sabine? Sabine is one of my favorite characters in the entire Star Wars franchise, and I felt like that was just a pure copy and paste from animation
It did.
turned into live action, and bam,
The look, the feel, the way she spoke,
the
and like
attitude.
the attitude, the facial expressions too. I was like, this chick definitely just like threw on an episode of Rebels right before before the hit action, and she just like copied everything she saw because they did such a great job of giving us the feel of those characters that we all like learned to love through the 4 seasons of Rebels, and put that in the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. But it like feels very fresh though as well at the same time.
Yeah,
And I
it
think
doesn't
that's
feel like it's retread.
yeah, and that's what I think the balance of this show really really works. How did you feel about the pacing? Because I feel like I've seen a few people here and there saying it feels flat or it
There are
it
are
just
there moments where the first episode feels slower? Yes, but I think that's on purpose because
hmm,
the first episode is 55 minutes counting the credits. That's damn near a full length movie, and they
I
gave
love
us
it.
two. So
I
like
love it.
I was totally fine, and of all the Star Wars shows, this one is the one that even visually feels the most like a movie. You could tell that Dave Filoni is practicing for that big combined saga film that they announced
Hmm.
at Celebration.
And I think
Um,
that's what I loved. I really enjoyed the pacing actually because
yeah,
I love that it took its time in certain scenes. It
yes,
didn't feel rushed like how it felt in season 3 of Mando.
or even Kenobi at points.
Yeah, it took its time, but when it hit those moments, it knew what it was doing, and the runtime worked in its favor. And I mean, I love these longer runtime shows. I do
Yes,
not give me a 25-minute Star Wars show. I'm here to set in and go for an adventure in a galaxy far, far away. I want to actually be able to sit there, buckle up, and enjoy it, and not sit in, buckle up, and be like, "Oh, the show's already over." Like it was nice to get that feel of like this is building towards something, and
yes, and that was my next point because also, unlike a lot of the other Disney Plus shows, you kind of get the stakes at face value. It's that,
mhm,
hey, Thrawn is back. Thrawn has the ability to help revive the Empire and send us into another war. This is a real threat.
mhm. And I really like that. And I will say too is I think it's funny. I think all of the trailers we received, pretty sure all of that footage is in the first 2 episodes.
Oh yeah, and that's what I said. That's one of the things I loved is
Mhm, same.
there is very outside of the looks of Thrawn we got in trailers
Mhm,
and the whales in the trailers and a couple of the saber fight scenes we got in trailers.
mhm.
It is just all the first 2 episodes.
Oh,
That's
100.
that's
Yeah.
all it is.
But you just get it
So
flushed out, which is nice to see.
so as an audience, you're left sitting there like, wow, hold up. I watched the trailer. This is essentially these first 2 episodes were essentially the trailer. So what else do they have in store for me? And I think that's really important because it's gonna
Mhm.
help you enjoy the show more. You don't know what's coming. And
Exactly.
that's awesome.
And it's 8 episodes, correct?
Yes, 8 episodes.
Which is awesome. And I hope they keep the runtime at least around 40 minutes every episode because I feel like that's gonna flush out this story that we're gearing towards. Because man, those action sequences, well, at times you could feel the volume. I feel like that was my biggest issue with the show. The first 2 episodes was I felt the volume at times. So I'm hoping when Filoni goes in and does his film that he kind of takes back that a little bit. And obviously for the space sequences, those are great to have. But I'm hoping that we get more, at least within this series and his upcoming film, more practical locations. Because like I said, I felt some of the volume and I felt it feel a little wonky at times, but it didn't take away from my experience at all.
I guess, yeah, that is one of the negatives, the volume. But compared to a lot of other shows that have shot in the volume recently, you don't feel it as much. Where Obi-Wan, you felt the volume a lot.
The entire time, yeah.
This, while mentally you're like, this is in the volume, there's a lot that feels touchable and obtainable, and like it isn't just this CGI image.
Yeah, no, exactly. It felt like you could have reached in through the screen, which I did appreciate. But I'm hoping, like, furthermore, they will kind of do what Andor did and focus more on real locations, because I mean that's preferably that's what I prefer. But I mean, I understand that sometimes you have to use the volume for certain things, and the technology that has been built for the volume is insane, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. And you could obviously see it within this episode, which was amazing.
One thing that I did, I'll say this: the first episode is definitely stronger than the second. The second does finish on a strong note, but neither are. It's not bad by any means. It's still a very well constructed episode of Star Wars television. What I'm curious about is how fans react to having new voices and people as these characters. Like we said, we love Sabine, but someone we haven't touched on yet is Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who takes over for Hera, takes over as Hera in this. And honestly, I didn't have any issue with her at all. I know looks of Hera have not looked great in the trailers. I can say
yes.
it
okay,
looks
that was
10 times better in the show. It looks
Yes.
10 times better in the show.
I would say that I will say it did kind of take me out a little bit with that chalky face paint. I think that was my only downfall. Was it like I feel like this is really bothering me? Like I feel like you could see that it was caked onto her face a wee bit. Like I don't know, like why they had to put that much face makeup on it, because Rosario Dawson looks amazing with that orange and white face paint. I don't know why it looked so thick on Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Green is a little bit of a harder color to pull off than orange, which can blend in with a darker person's skin.
I guess you're right, yeah. But other than that, though, like I really enjoyed her. I do want to see more of her, like badass, like snarkiness, like attitude, kind of be like. I can't wait to see her as like the leader that she is.
Yes.
And I feel like we only got like a wee bit of a glimpse of it, kind of her being like a supporting side character in a sense, more than what we got for Sabine and Ahsoka. Because obviously at the end of the day, this is Ahsoka's show, but let's be real, it's
Rebel season.
It is Rebels.
Which, speaking of which, when they essentially recreated the ending scene of Rebels, I nearly lost my mind. But I have a question for you, going back to the hair of it all. Considering this is essentially a Rebels season 5, do you think we see Jason?
Dude, I was waiting for him to show up. So, yes, I think we will. I don't think he'll be a major character, but I 100% think we will. And I think it would only make sense to respect him, to respect his parents, to have him in the show because of what he means to them. And I think that would kind of be amazing. I'm very curious what he'll look like too, in a sense. So I think it makes sense. I do think he'll show up in like a scene or a glimpse. You know what I would love if he's just running in the background behind one of the scenes. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they go with. But I think he definitely will appear. I think it won't be until the latter half of the season, personally.
Yeah. No, 100% agree on that.
But do you think he'll appear?
Yeah, you got to. Like, especially if we saw Zeb in Mando season 3, so we know Zeb's around. You have Sabine, you have Hera, you have Ahsoka, You can't bring back Kanan, but part of this story, as we know, is the possibility of bringing Ezra back. So if you can't have Kanan and you're essentially getting the band back together, wouldn't it make sense to have the son of Hera and Kanan there? So
Exactly.
I think we do see Jason. One last thing we got to mention before we sign off is Disney Plus finally made the correct move, and this show will be dropping on Tuesday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Paige, as a fellow Eastern Time Zone person, how do you feel about this?
Dude, praise the Lord. Who thought in their right mind over at Disney that dropping an episode of a show at midnight
Pacific,
that would chill over well for us East Coasters, who there are a plethora of us reviewers out there, and not even just reviewers, but fans that have to stay up until 3 a.m. to watch it, and then also
or set their alarm for 3 a.m.
Yeah, or like the fact that, oh my God, now when I go on Twitter or on any social
first thing in the morning,
the first thing in the morning, I'm going to see everyone talking about it, and I'm going to be like, oh, I'm trying to avoid all these spoilers. So I think that was the smartest decision they could have made, because that's how you get everyone to rally together, and that's how you keep a conversation going as well.
Yes, and I think that's going to help, and I think props to, I'm going to give two other streaming services props real quick. Amazon Prime and Apple TV, both streaming services got on that train over the last year before Disney, that I'm just glad Disney is finally doing with this. Hopefully they continue it going forward, because that would be fantastic. But I think Ahsoka is going to be primetime viewing. You're going to do, I think we might see, after people get these first two episodes at least, you might start seeing what you saw when Disney Plus first dropped, which is the occasional crash at episode debut time. Because the show has that kind of potential.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to have like House of the Dragon levels. And to shout out that we actually got the release schedule of who directing it, and I'm pretty sure there's a director from House of the Dragon that directed 1 or 2 episodes of Ahsoka, which I think is awesome. So, like, I love how they throw in these different flavors of directors to direct these shows, and we're gonna see all of that. And I'm just so much looking forward to it, because this show is now going to be primetime viewing, because it's going to be like cooler talk right off the bat, because everyone can be talking about it around the same time, and not whether it be midnight or 3 a.m.
Yeah, and I mean, real quick, let's talk about the directing team. Dave Filoni, Steph Green, who directed episode 2, Peter Ramsey, who was involved with Into the Spider-Verse, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Jennifer Gertzinger, Jita Patel, and Star Wars. He's just become a Star Wars director at this point. Rick Famuyiwa.
Yeah, give him a movie, guys. What's going on? Or give him a series. Like, what is taking so long?
I think he's just enjoying having to come in and direct an episode.
Because
he's like, hey, I'm getting paid. I'm still working on Star Wars. I got a character in the series, for God's sake.
Yeah. Well, he was an executive producer on Andor season 3. So, I mean, he's working his way up. So I can't wait to see what comes next with him. And I'm happy that I'm pretty sure he's directing the final episode.
I think so, yeah.
I want to say
he's had some of the better episodes of Mando.
Yeah.
So, but Paige, if you're gonna rate this show, what are you gonna rate it?
Ooh, I mean, thus far, it's hard to say. We only got 2 episodes in. We still have 6 more to go. But from what I got, it was a breath of fresh air. Coming off of a few seasons of Book of Boba Fett, Mando season 3, Obi-Wan being very mixed bags, this show felt like I was back into the Star Wars that I loved. And so for me, I'm going 4 out of 5 out of right now for Ahsoka. I mean, I think it balanced the tone of it so well, with its grittiness, but its wonder, its hope, but kick-ass action sequences. And I feel like we're just getting so much of this with new characters, with the reintroduction of the old characters that both of us have learned to love from watching Rebels. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see this journey that we go on for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So what are you giving it is what I want to know.
Well, for me, I'm going a little bit higher. I'm going 4.5 out of 5. It's one of those things of the reason it gets that 0.5 bump is that little bit of, some may call it fan service, some will call it Easter eggs. That shows Dave Filoni and crew are really putting in the care and passion to make sure this all connects, especially for the non just casual fan. We're talking about the sweaties like me, like you, and so many other people that we know, that we get every little detail, catch on every little thing, and I really dug it. A lot of people before Andor came out, Rebels was arguably, to a lot of people, the best Star Wars product we have gotten in the Disney era.
Yeah.
And just to see it continue in spirit, I think is really cool. And getting able to experience these characters in live action is something I never thought I'd see. Because for the longest, there was that stigma of, yeah, it's in the animated TV show. That means we're probably never going to see it. And now,
it's for kids.
Getting its respect.
No, like you said, man, this show actually really made me feel like warm and giddy, because I was like,
yes,
like you said, I never thought I would get the live action version of this, and it just like makes me so happy that now I kind of feel like anything is possible.
Yes,
and I can't wait to get more Chopper. So
yes, love the murder droid. Love the murder droid.
Because that dude is awesome, and he gets a nice little scene, and he's hilarious. And I just want them to give subtitles when he talks. So
there were some of his lines you can actually understand what he's saying.
100%. You could in Rebels too. They got to bleep that out for the children. So.
Yes. But with that, folks, that is our review of Ahsoka. I want to thank you for Paige and to Bite Size Breakdown for letting me borrow her for this. Be sure to check them out. Paige, go ahead and plug yourself and Bite Size real quick.
Yeah, man. I mean, guys, you guys know you can find me. It's right below Front Page News 9 on Twitter and Instagram. Well, I'm not calling it X. It's still Twitter. Sorry, guys. And you guys, please go support and follow Bite Size Breakdown on all your social media platforms, and check out our website. We have a lot of big things coming up. A lot of us are going to be covering a lot of the major festivals, TIFF, Venice, New York Film Festival, all that stuff. So lots of content coming your way. And yeah, Matt, thank you, man. I mean, what real entertainment always brings the heat. It's always a pleasure, Matt, for you having me on. And us getting to talk Star Wars again.
Yes.
Like, what in good Star Wars? My heart is just like beating with joy. So.
But yeah, I mean, folks, if you haven't already, follow the channel. Yes. You can find me right there on Twitter, not X, Twitter at WattMovies_Matt. Most other content you can find me at WattRealEnt, which is spelled just like in the top corner, WattRealEnt. Just what Paige just said. Thank you, Paige. So find us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all that. So Paige, thank you for coming on. I'm Matt. That is Paige, and this was another Real Review. We'll see you next time. Peace.